What's up everyone, I'm Gushy, and in this video we're going to be going over the best status effect build in God of War Ragnarok. With this build we're going to be applying burn super quickly, giving us multiple buffs while enemies are status affected, while also having a crazy amount of burst damage, as we'll be poisoning enemies to reduce enemies' power levels and getting a massive buff to melt down bosses. All this gameplay is on Give Me No Mercy, and as you can see in the gameplay in the background, I'm taking out mini bosses with only one light attack combo. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with the armor, which is the most important. Of course, we're using the Berserker chest piece. By far this is the best chest armor in the game because it's the most consistent and you can activate all your buffs purposefully and very easily. There's other options like the Surters, but again you only get that buff during attacks, and the Spiritual shoulder straps, but you have to pop 3 runic attacks in a row. Alright, next for the wrist and waist armor, we are not using the Berserker armor set because those only just give cooldown, but we want even more damage. So we're using Lunda's wrist and waist armor. This gives a 40% buff against poisoned enemies, and this is where our burst damage comes in against bosses. Of course we do have to poison enemies somehow, and we could do this several ways. Easiest and the one that you're going to be using the most is through our relic. This is the hilt of Dainsleif. I don't know how to say it, but once you use it, it creates an explosion of poison, specifically 3 puddles in front of you, and as you upgrade the relic, these poison puddles get larger. The poison status effect lasts around 5 seconds, but if enemies are standing in the puddle, they can consistently get poisoned again and again. Now another way we're going to apply poison is actually through Freya's magic. If we go to Freya's skills, under Veneer magic, she has Entangled Grip. Freya can spawn vines on the ground that root enemies in place, and if we go down to Entangled Grip 3, Freya's vines apply poison to rooted enemies. This is super useful against mobs, and it's kind of a random effect and you can't really purposely root enemies, but it's nice when it does proc. Another skill she has is Root Snare. Freya can summon vines that grab enemies lying down, releasing a cloud of poison. This is actually more consistent because you can proc it yourself. If you hit enemies on the ground, it has the possibility of Freya using this ability. In the video it shows you using the axe, but we're mostly using the blades, which we have a ton of skills which can knock enemies down, so just keep in mind this is an option. Next thing to note, since we're not using the full Berserker armor set, we need a way to get our relic back way quicker, and this is through the blades attachment. This one's called Luminous Recovery Handles. Flame Whiplash hits have a moderate luck chance to grant a blessing of cooldown, restoring more cooldown if it's fully charged. Now usually you use Flame Whiplash if you mash triangle, then either hit R1 or R2. We just need a hit, so using R1 is a lot faster. Ideally, we really want this at full charge because it fires a wave of fire on the ground, which has a lot of range and you could practice at a very far and safe distance. So this is Flame Whiplash without it fully being charged. If it's fully charged, you get a big burst of flames around you, and then you'll see a wave of flames shooting out in front of you. Again, we want to be activating this at full charge, and the Flame Whiplash 2 skill is a must-have. If you press triangle momentarily after any Blade of Chaos attack, you can charge Flame Whiplash instantly. What's great about this is that you can activate after any attack, even shield attacks. So after you parry, here I'm using the Dauntless, and after a shield bash, I can activate Flame Whiplash 2 and instantly get that whip, again to get a proc on our handles to give a blessing of cooldown. And so what I noticed is that proccing this cooldown 6 times will fully refresh your relic. So each time you get a full Flame Whiplash and proc the cooldown perk, you'll be getting around a 20-second cooldown on everything, not just your relic. This means all your runic attacks as well. And so Flame Whiplash isn't only good for the cooldown, it does a lot of damage and can build up burn really quickly. Only 2 hits gets him burning. You always want enemies burning because their health slowly ticks away, and we get bonus damage to enemies that are status inflicted. The Vanaheim set is a must-have. Set bonus increases Kratos' melee attacks against status afflicted enemies based on his luck. We have a decent amount of luck, but any bonus damage is nice. On top of that, we're also using Nilfheim set. Increase Kratos' melee attacks when he's above 75% health based on his defense. And the Muspelheim set increases Kratos' melee attack when the Permafrost, Immolation, or Maelstrom skills are fully charged based on the runic. And with Flame Whiplash, we can easily build up Immolation really quickly. Going back to the Traveler fight, take a look at the Immolation bar at the bottom left. 2 hits of Flame Whiplash almost fully charges Immolation. so I'd say a little bit longer than it takes to build up the burn on enemies, but still a really good way to get that Immolation Muspelheim enchantment buff. To get this fast of a build up, going back to the skill tree, the Scorch Sweep skill that we'll be using the most, of course we want the mod Momentum, which will greatly increase the Immolation charge to get that fast build up. And that's pretty much the whole playstyle loop. Ideally you want Immolation full before you pop your relic. Make sure that the enemy is in front of you so they land in the pool of poison. Against bosses, I like using my light attack right after the relic. Light runic attack uses Hades Retribution, mostly because you get 2 stuns, one on the initial stab and a second on detonation. So I can stun the boss long enough so they fully get poisoned. This activates Lunda's Armor's 40% damage melee buff, along with the Berserker's Soulless Warrior perk, and you just go to town with melee attacks. Now as you can see, it's important to parry, stunning the enemies for longer so you can continue your attack chain. The shield that I like using is the Dauntless Shield. After you get a parry, you can do a shield bash which stuns enemies. With all the hits you get in, you build up stun pretty quickly. I'd say the type of shield isn't that important, but the shield attachment, I highly recommend the Round of Deflection. This increases your timing windows on parries and really just makes parrying a lot easier. Again, keep in mind as you go for the shield bash, if you time it correctly, you can go immediately into Flame Whiplash to get your damage, burn, and immolation charged up really quick. Other notable gear that I have on my axe, I'm using the Grip of Healing Harmony. Since we're charging immolation really quickly, we can easily switch to our axe. Permafrost will also be charged, and we can attack for some extra health. We're really not using our other weapons, but just for the fun of it, the spear attachment that we have is the Hind of the 9 Realms. Again, since we're charging immolation really quickly, we can switch to our spear, hit L1 and triangle to activate Violent Maelstrom, which can trigger a realm shift. I know some of y'all really like the realm shift. But with that, that's pretty much everything for the build. If you guys did like the build, please drop a like. And if you have suggestions on how to make it better, or you have a variation, let us know in the comment section down below. If you're enjoying the God of War videos, consider subscribing so you can keep up to date with all the videos that we post. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope to catch you in the next one, and GG.